Hi there, my name's Evan Doyle. I am the Diocese of Northern Indiana's Secretary to Diocesan Convention and Diocesan Council. As you may know, every 3 years, the General Convention of the Episcopal Church meets and considers a number of resolutions and actions and so forth that affect the life of our church. One of the actions General Convention can take is to amend the Constitution of the Episcopal Church. Constitutional amendments take 2 readings, so they have to be voted on at one General Convention, and then they have to be voted on at a second General Convention. Well, in between those 2 readings, the constitutional amendments are sent to dioceses like ours for reading at Diocesan Convention. While I know you'd all love to take time at Diocesan Convention to read these exhilarating documents, we decided to put them in a video for you to watch in your free time when you're just really having a rockin' Friday night, really want some exhilarating content to watch. So, we are, and by we, I mean I, am going to read these 3 constitutional amendments to satisfy the requirements. And if you have any questions about these amendments, what they do, feel free to let me know or another member of diocesan leadership, and we'd be happy to tell you anything we know. So, the first constitutional amendment that was approved at General Convention 80 this year in Baltimore was from Resolution A031, amend the Constitution and canons relating to mergers of dioceses. The constitutional amendment reads as follows. Resolved that the 80th General Convention amend Article 5, Section 4 of the Constitution to read as follows. Whenever a new diocese is formed and erected out of an existing diocese, or out of 2 or more existing dioceses, or parts of them, the formation process of the newly formed diocese, including the adoption of its constitution and canons, shall be as set forth in the canons. So that's amendment number 1, amending the Constitution relating to the mergers of dioceses. Amendment number 2 comes from General Convention 80 Resolution A059, amend Article 10 of the Constitution of the Episcopal Church. The final resolution reads as follows. Resolved that the 80th General Convention of the Episcopal Church repeal Article 10 in its entirety and replace it with the following. Section 1. The Book of Common Prayer is understood to be those liturgical forms and other texts authorized by the General Convention in accordance with this article and the canons of this church. The Book of Common Prayer in this church is intended to be communal and devotional prayer, enriched by our church's cultural, geographic, and linguistic contexts. The Book of Common Prayer shall contain both public worship and private devotion. The Book of Common Prayer, as now established or hereafter amended by the General Convention, shall be in use in all the dioceses of this church. Section 2. No alteration thereof or addition thereto shall be made unless the General Convention approve the same on first reading in one regular meeting of the General Convention and, by resolve so directing, be sent to the Secretary of the General Convention to the Secretary of the Convention of every diocese, to be made known to the Diocesan Convention at its next regular meeting, and be adopted on second reading without alteration by the General Convention at its next succeeding regular meeting by a majority of all bishops, excluding retired bishops not present, of the whole number of bishops entitled to vote in the House of Bishops, and by an affirmative vote by orders in the House of Deputies, in accordance with Article 1, Section 5 of this Constitution, except that concurrence in the affirmative by the orders shall require the affirmative vote in each order by a majority of the diocese entitled to representation in the House of Deputies. Section 3. No alteration thereof or addition thereto shall be made unless it has been previously authorized for trial use in accordance with this article in the canons of this church. Section 4. The General Convention may, at any one meeting, by a majority of the whole number of the bishops entitled to vote in the House of Bishops, and by a majority of the clerical and lay deputies of all the dioceses entitled to representation in the House of Deputies, voting by orders as previously set forth in this article, A. Amend the table of lessons and all tables and rubrics relating to the Psalms. B. Authorize for trial use such alterations or additions in whole or in part to the established Book of Common Prayer, as may be proposed in accord with the canons of this church, and duly undertaken and implemented according to the directives of the General Convention. C. Authorize for use throughout this church, as provided by canon, alternative and additional liturgies to supplement those provided in the Book of Common Prayer. Section 5. Nothing in this article shall be construed as restricting the authority of the bishops of this church to take such order as may be permitted by the rubrics of the Book of Common Prayer, or by the canons of the General Convention for the use of special forms of worship. That is the end of the second proposed amendment to the Constitution of the Episcopal Church. The third and final amendment that we have to read today comes from General Convention Resolution A157, amend Article 1, Section 7. That resolution reads as such. Resolved that Article 1, Section 7 of the Constitution be amended to read as follows. Section 7. The General Convention shall hold its regular meeting not less than once in each 3 years, at a time and place determined in accordance with the canons. In the event of a change of circumstances indicating the necessity or advisability of changing the date of such regular meeting of the General Convention beyond 3 years, said meeting may be rescheduled as provided by canon. Special meetings may be held as provided for by canon. That is the end of the third proposed amendment to our Constitution of the Episcopal Church. And that is it for this year. So thank you so much for listening and considering these important amendments to our Constitution of the Episcopal Church that affect our common life together. Hope to see you at Diocesan Convention in just a few weeks, and have a great day.